Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Monday, June 19th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Monday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Washington Nationals. Jack Flaherty and Josiah Gray are your starters. Jack Flaherty's last start, he went 4 1/3 innings, giving up 10 base hits and 6 earned runs against the Giants. 3 walks to go with it, and an 11-3 Cardinals loss. And the big thing for Flaherty has just been inconsistency this season with his control, with the earned runs he's allowed. Before that struggling start against the Giants, Flaherty went 6 innings of shutout baseball against the Texas Rangers, so it's just been really tough to see, what you're going to get from Flaherty with each start. He's got a 4.64 ERA, a 4.61 expected ERA, so his expected numbers kind of right where they are right now in terms of the ERA. And Josiah Gray this season, a 3.19 ERA. His last start against the Astros was not his best. He did go 7 innings of work, but he gave up 4 earned runs and 2 home runs. The St. Louis Cardinals, although they've had a really disappointing season, they have been a solid lineup against right-handed pitchers as of late, where they're number 12 in baseball in isolated power against righties in the last 30 days. So I do think we're going to see a high-scoring game in this one. Add to the fact that the Nationals do a really good job at limiting strikeouts. I don't think that's a good matchup for Jack Flaherty. And add to the fact that the Nationals have one of the worst bullpens in baseball, I think we're going to see a high-scoring game and potentially a high-scoring series. So give me the over here in St. Louis, Washington. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Detroit Tigers. Jordan Lyles and Reese Olson are your starters. Reese Olson struggled in his last game, but that was against the Atlanta Braves. We know one of the tougher lineups, if not the toughest lineup to face as a right-handed pitcher this season. Before that, Olson pitched really well in his first 2 games at the big league level. 10 innings of work, 3 runs against the Phillies and the White Sox combined with 9 strikeouts. So sure, he's got that 6.08 ERA, but a 3.7 expected ERA, a 3.49 FIP. I think he's the much better option here compared to Jordan Lyles, who, the Royals are 0-14 in his 14 starts this season. He's 0-11 personally. He had a really good outing at the beginning of the month of June. It looked like he was, had some positive signs in his game. He went 5 innings of 2-hit, 1-run baseball against the Rockies with 8 strikeouts. The Royals still lost that game because of their bullpen. But then Lyles, follows it up with 7 innings, 5 earned runs against the Marlins, 6 innings, 5 earned runs against the Reds. So I just can't trust Lyles in this game, giving up too much sharp contact. His control's been off. His strikeout numbers aren't there. I got to take the Tigers in this game. Give me the Detroit Tigers on the money line. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Miami Marlins. Jose Barrios going for Toronto. No official starter for the Marlins. They were originally supposed to go with Edward Cabrera, but he was just placed on the 15-day IL on Saturday night. So we'll have to see who they decide to go with. Could be a bullpen game for Miami. And Jose Barrios has pitched really well this season. Overall, 3.28 ERA. At the beginning of the year, he was not pitching too well, especially away from Rogers Center. But like I've mentioned, his last few road starts, including his last game against the Baltimore Orioles, 7 2/3 innings, no earned runs. He pitched well against the Mets on the road, the Twins, the Rays, the Pirates, some tough teams in that mix. And I think he pitches well in this game against the Marlins team. It's improved their numbers against righties, but still overall this season, not the best numbers against right-handed pitchers. I think the Blue Jays offense backs up Barrios in this game. I like Toronto's chances in Game 1 of this series. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Austin Gomber and Brandon Williamson, a pair of southpaws on the mound. And this one, now listen, I've been critical about Brandon Williamson's game, and I still think, he's not the best option on the mound for Cincinnati going forward. He has regressed quite a bit after a good start to the season. He's now got a 5.4 ERA, only 22 strikeouts and 13 walks to go with it in 31 2/3 innings. But I still think he's the better option in this game because of who's on the other side in Austin Gomber and the fact that the Rockies have really struggled against left-handed pitchers this season. So, Williamson, I think, will be able to give the Reds 5 decent innings in this game. And I think Cincinnati's offense is going to really back him up in a big way. We know the Reds have hit lefties pretty well this year, and Austin Gomber has been one of the weaker lefties in baseball with a 7.29 ERA. Now, sure, he has been better on the road, as most Rockies pitchers are, compared to his starts at Coors Field, where he's got a 9.4 ERA, but he still has a 4.6 ERA in 29 1/3 innings on the road, only 21 strikeouts and 14 walks to go with it. I don't trust him in this game at Great American Ballpark, the second most hitter-friendly ballpark in baseball in my opinion, and I think the Reds will be able to get to him early and win this game. They've been playing great baseball, so give me the Cincinnati Reds on the money line. Next up, it's the Chicago Cubs taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Drew Smyly going for Chicago. No official starter for the Pirates right now. We know Smyly struggled quite a bit in his last game against these Pittsburgh Pirates. He went 6 innings, 9 base hits, 5 earned runs, and 3 home runs in that game. Now, the Cubs went on to win that ball game because their offense has been doing pretty well as of late, but now on the road against a Pirates team that's hit lefties pretty well, and they just got to Smyly. I can't trust Chicago in this game. I think Pittsburgh takes this one. We'll have to see who their official starter is going to be in this game, to give us a little bit more information. But right now, leaning towards the Pirates on the money line at PNC Park. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox take it on the Minnesota Twins. We're going to see James Paxton and Pablo Lopez on the mound in this one. Yeah, I want to take the Twins in this game because of just how bad the spot is for the Red Sox, but they do have James Paxton going, and, he's been one of the better starters right now. He's got a 3.09 ERA. He's in really good form as of late. So that's 3 starts, 2 earned runs or fewer in all 3, and 8 strikeouts or more in all 3. The Minnesota Twins, I watched their game against the lefty and Joey Wentz on Saturday afternoon. It was just a really miserable offensive performance for Minnesota, even though they grabbed the win in the end. I thought they scored a couple of lucky runs in the bottom of the 5th, and that was all they needed. But, Joey Wentz pitched really well in that game. He went 6 innings, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts, and that's a Joey Wentz starter. He's got a 6.82 ERA overall this year. So I think James Paxton pitches well in this game. Minnesota not the best numbers against lefties overall this season. But like I mentioned, it's a bad spot for the Red Sox, so I can't take them. They played a doubleheader on Sunday. They had to play against their rivals on Sunday Night Baseball, travel from Boston to Minnesota. Really, really tough spot to be in. So, Pablo Lopez is a solid arm. He has struggled at Target Field so far this year, but he is coming off a quality start at home in his last game against the Milwaukee Brewers. He went 6 innings, 3 runs, and 9 strikeouts in that game. No home runs allowed is the key for me. So give me the under here in Boston, Minnesota. Should be a pretty, I think we're going to see some fatigued efforts here at the plate from both of these teams. Give me the under. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to see Corbin Burnes and Merrill Kelly on the mound in this one. Great pitching matchup. Now, Corbin Burnes is looking more and more like the Cy Young caliber pitcher we've seen the last couple of years. He's now had 4 quality starts in a row. In the last one against the Minnesota Twins, 6 innings, 3 runs, and 8 strikeouts. Before that against the Orioles, 8 innings, no earned runs, only 2 base hits, and 9 strikeouts. We know Corbin Burnes has pitched better at home this season than on the road. He's had 3.27 ERA at home this year in 41 1/3 innings of work with 42 strikeouts to go with it. I think he pitches well in this game. I mean, he faced these Diamondbacks already once this season. He was outstanding in that game. Even though Arizona is a very tough lineup to face, especially against right-handed pitchers, Corbin Burnes went 8 innings of shutout baseball with 8 strikeouts in that one. That was a 7-1 Brewers win. Now, Merrill Kelly has kind of been inconsistent as of late. He's been pitching well. In his last start, 6 innings, 3 runs. It's a quality start, but he did have 4 walks allowed in that game. He's had at least 1 home run allowed in each of his last 3 games and 3 or more walks in 2 of his last 3. So his control's been off a little bit. His strikeout numbers are there, but I do think the Brewers will be able to get to him. This is a Brewers team that plays its best baseball at home. I like the Brewers in this game behind Corbin Burnes, so give me the Brewers on the money line. Next up, it's the New York Mets taking on the Houston Astros. Max Scherzer and Hunter Brown are your starters. I think this is a good bounce-back spot for Max Scherzer, who has struggled in the last couple of games. They were really tough spots to be in, tough matchups against your big rivals in the Yankees and Braves. The Braves have absolutely crushed right-handed pitchers as of late. But I do think the Astros, without Yordan Alvarez, is a much better spot to be in for Scherzer. And I do think the Mets bats are going to back him up. Hunter Brown, a 3.35 ERA this season. He's got 83 strikeouts and 75 1/3 innings of work. He is a kind of strikeout-dependent starter, but as of late, only 9 strikeouts and 13 innings of work with 6 walks to go with it and 2 home runs. A little bit concerning there, and he's facing a New York Mets lineup that already does a pretty good job at limiting strikeouts at the plate. So I do think the Mets will be able to get to Brown early on. I like their chance in this game. We're getting a really good price with them, so give me the New York Mets on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Chicago White Sox. Andrew Heaney going for Texas. No official starter for the White Sox right now. I think this is a really tough spot to be in for the White Sox as you're coming off that West Coast series where you played in some extra inning games and you used your bullpen a lot in those games. Obviously, going on the West Coast in itself is a tough spot to be in for a team from Chicago. So I do think, going back home, facing a solid lefty in Andrew Heaney, who's got a 4.05 ERA overall this season, and he's got a 2.43 ERA on the road in 29 2/3 innings, so better numbers away from Globe Life Field. You're a White Sox lineup that is normally hitting lefties, pretty well in the last couple of years, but in the last 30 days, they're 19th in baseball in team OPS. They're 18th in isolated power, and their strikeout rate is top 10 highest in baseball. So really not doing that well against lefties as of late. I think Heaney pitches well. I think the Rangers bats will be able to get to this White Sox bullpen. If this is a bullpen game, I don't like their chances. I'm going to take the Texas Rangers on the road on the money line and lay 1.5 runs as well. And that's it. Those are the games for Monday in the MLB. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.